Welcome. This presentation is brought to you by the Pikes Peak Council for the Boy Scouts of America. Before we begin, I'd like to take this time to introduce myself. My name is James Denola. I am a district executive for the Pikes Peak Council. I have been in scouting for about 10 years now, and like most of you, I started off as an adult volunteer leader. Most of us have started volunteering when our children began their scouting career in Cub Scouts. My son is now 15 years old and he is working on his Eagle project. So in this video, we're going to discuss how to market your program. Many of us did not think that we would invest so much of our lives into a youth program as much as we do for scouting. We have built relationships with other families, our children have become friends for life, and our scouts will not have to worry about the efforts made by the adults to keep their scouting adventure going. In the life cycle of scouting, membership is a key ingredient to the success of scouting units, especially in Cub Scouts. In this diagram, we see that our packs are the feeder packs that go into our troops. Our troops, where most of our scouts have grown together with leadership and teamwork, eventually rise through the ranks. From there, about 4% of all youth that are in the troop eventually will venture off into our other programs for older youth, such as venturing, sea scouting, or exploring. So why is membership so important in Cub Scouts? Well, membership equals fundraising power. The more scouts that you have, the easier it will be to get to your goal for your fundraising. If you have a goal of $1,000, it helps to have more scouts reach that goal with less amount of time. Membership also includes having a social presence in your schools. By having more students in Cub Scouting and doing social events such as conservation projects or just doing a carnival, having that presence in your school allows your school to know that there is an organization that is there to support them and their students. And membership equals word of mouth advertising. By having all this, with your fundraising, with your social presence in schools, your social presence in the community, people are going to talk. They're going to talk about the kids that are in this program that you have provided. So the key question is going to be, how do we increase our membership efforts? Well, it's a simple and really an easy answer. We're going to learn a few tricks in marketing of all things. Wait a minute. Did you just say marketing? Well, yes, I did. But the funny thing is that you've been doing it without even knowing it. During one of the summer months, your PAC committee began meeting together on planning for the next Cub Scout year. Your program coincides with the school year, like most of us already know. Prior to the school starting, your district executive will meet with your unit leadership to discuss membership, a review of last year's efforts, membership transitions, and upcoming recruitment efforts. A tool brought to your unit meeting is the Fall Recruitment Tracker. Here, your district executive will provide your unit statistical data to assist in your recruitment efforts. In this tool, we take the membership count from March of the current year. We also take the total youth available that is reported by the state of Colorado. This is where the student count comes in. We take the information from your school, of your school district, in the city, in the county, and overall in the state. By pinpointing how many students are available for you to recruit, we will break it down to a simple way to ensure that you are not bombarded of making sure that you have to recruit all the students in the school. We take a small percentage based on what your membership is, what your membership used to be, and come up with a feasible way to recruit and make your Journey to Excellence gold standard. Additional information is your JSN dates. JSN stands for Joint Scout Nights. We want to see if we can also schedule at least 2 dates with 2 times and 2 locations. And also recording the number of attendance and paid applications during those events. Together, your unit will make 12 commitments to the success of your unit recruitment plan. Most of you are asking, why 12 commitments? This goes into marketing. So, these commitments are based on a simple theory, the 7 touches theory of marketing. Your recruitment efforts are based on this marketing principle, which will help your Scout program in your area. The 7 touches theory states it takes at least 7 touches before someone will internalize and or act upon your call to action. These touches take many forms. Such forms are physical connections such as networking events, seeing an ad, either physical or digital, seeing your logo, seeing your social media posts, receiving an e-newsletter or other email, a phone call, a word of mouth mentioned by a friend or colleague. So what are the touches, in this case commitments, in Scouting? They are: develop a membership plan with your district executive, geofencing via social media, activating and updating your unit via Scout PIN, flyers, both physical and digital, school lunch talks, school open houses, peer-to-peer cards, advertising on school websites, advertising on the school e-newsletter. Other commitments in Scouting are meetings with school principals. Knowing the limitations of what you can and cannot do on the school premises is going to be vital for your recruitment efforts. Be sure to schedule that meeting. Bookmarks for school libraries and book fairs. Scheduling a pack wear your uniform to school day is going to be important. Distributing e-backpack notices. You get these weekly as a parent. Being able to hang door hangers in your neighborhood. This allows your neighbors to know what kind of activities and when you are going to be engaging for a recruitment. Using Nextdoor, and also placing yard signs. Ensuring that all members, such as the parents or the leaders, should have a yard sign in their yards to advertise the Cub Scout pack in your neighborhood. As times change, so does Scouting. Units should prepare to adapt to ways families are functioning. This includes the use of technology. The Boy Scouts of America is developing ways to answer our families' concerns and suggestions to communicate effectively and efficiently. One way to assist our Scouts and families is Scoutbook. Going online, you can type in scoutbook.com or you can download the Scoutbook app. So with Scoutbook, if you are not already using Scoutbook, now is an excellent time to begin. Scoutbook has already been set up for your unit and it's been done automatically. All that is needed is for you to log on using your my.scouting username and password. In light of situations that restrict Scouts and their families from participating in person, Scoutbook is interactive, and Den leaders can communicate with parents on scheduled activities set on the digital calendar. Here we have an example of a Scoutbook account for a pack. A total is shown of registered leaders and registered youth. Below, we have the pack breakdown of the dens. There are 10 dens per rank level and per gender. We also see a calendar preview called Upcoming Events at the top of the screen. To the right of the screen, we see the calendar details. RSVP and permission slip options are available electronically. You can also see and view the invitees in order to track attendance, and view slips to print each parent permission form. Another option is specifying if the event meets advancement requirements. So how do we communicate? Well, you can use the platform to also send an electronic message and email using Scoutbook by itself. There's no need to go into your own personal email such as Outlook, Gmail, Ymail, or any of those. You can simply select who the parent is, put a subject line, add the message. If there's any attachments of what needs to be done, you can also put it on there and simply click on the send message button. And that's it. Electronic flyers. Many school districts currently use an electronic platform to distribute notifications via email or social media. Council can design your unit's flyer and distribute them for your school, both digitally and physically. All that is required is your information and what your unit desires in the flyer. Note, certain school districts may not allow physical flyers. Contact your district executive if this applies to your unit. So how does this work? In our region, there are 4 major platforms that use to engage electronic messages to the parents to the school district and for the schools. The Pikes Peak Council has paid for application accounts so that way we can send electronic messages on your behalf for your unit to each of these school districts to promote your activity and or engagement. Let's talk about recruitment in a box. So a recruitment box. A unit should have a storage container filled with the necessary items to work a successful recruitment night. In this case, let's talk about what's actually inside the box. Inside your recruitment box, you should have clipboards with sign-up sheets. You should also have youth applications and paper flyers that has the contents of your calendar events for the upcoming school year. Other items to consider in your recruitment box should be items for a display, having trophies from your recent Pinewood Derby, Cub Scout manuals, posters, medals, even activity kits for the kids to engage in while you speak to the parents should be available. Looking at the Pinewood Derby cars, showing off the uniforms that your scouts wear, anything to engage the parent to want to join your Cub Scout pack should be readily available and visible for them to see. A great tool to have? Make sure you download your unit's QR code from the My.Scouting website and place it on a display for parents who are interested in joining by going to beascout.org. The recruitment box is tailored to how invested your unit is to recruiting additional youth in your scouting program. Now let's talk about volunteers. Volunteers are critical for the recruitment and membership process of your unit. By having volunteers, known as new member coordinators, they are the welcoming committee. They answer questions and they engage with the audience. Remember to ask parents in your unit for assistance. They are your welcoming crew. If parents need an in-depth answers about scouting, your new member coordinator can guide them to the unit leaders for those answers. Your new member coordinator should be in a unit activity shirt if possible. They should speak plainly about scouting and how exciting the program is. Here's some tricks in recruiting that I always use. When engaging youth and parents, greet your audience. A statement such as, "Hi, welcome to our school," during an open house or a joint scout night is always a great icebreaker. Ask open-ended questions to the parents, such as, "Are you finding everything okay? Would you like some assistance?" In that same token, ask an open-ended question to the youth. An example is, "Are you excited for the school year to begin?" You're either going to get one of two answers, yes or no. However, having an open-ended question, this triggers your audience to engage with you. When you're in conversation, use reflective listening when speaking with the parents. Reflective listening is a technique in conversation that most recruiters use. When they are listening, they are reflecting back the same statement as their audience has told them. Your audience will open up to another conversation. Once you're in deep conversation, then begin with an engaging question. Such a question at your disposal should be, would you like some information about our family activities? This is in reference to the school, and then that's when you ask them. In Cub Scouting, once they are engaged, you're more than likely going to get a sign up or asked for an application. So before we end, let's talk about a couple of examples of the best and worst practices. Best and the worst. For the best, try practicing your interaction with others. You can do it in front of a mirror. Always try to figure out what you're going to say. Before you begin, make sure that your recruitment box has been inventoried. Check to see if you have the necessary items in there. Be sure to leave work or your home early. By getting there, you can set up as best as possible and make sure everything is neat. Before your event, make sure you eat. The last thing you need is to have a grumbling stomach, and if you're like me, it can be very loud. Be early to set up. This is key and crucial. You don't want to have a sloppy area. Have a positive attitude. Interact with others and make sure that you are polite. It's show and tell. Talk to both the child and the parent, but make sure you're in front of the table, not sitting in a chair behind it. This draws out some negativity from your audience. And lastly, avoid using scouting terms to non-scouts and non-scouters. They have no idea what you're talking about. So if you continue talking about certain things like NYLT or Pinewood Derby or anything of that nature, they're not going to know what you're talking about, and you've already lost their interest. Now let's get with the worst. Worst thing you can do is wing it. If you haven't practiced and you're just going to go wing it on the hip, you've already lost your audience. Another thing is coming directly from work or in another activity. This leaves no time for you to get ready mentally. Showing up late. Well, if you show up late to an engagement, what does that say about your parents' opinions about you when you were in charge of a scout activity? Another worst thing to do is appear to be bored. Well, a lot of the parents and a lot of the kids, they come from work, they're engaging with their teachers, they want to see all the cool things. They want to see people who are engaged with their kids. If you're bored, they're going to be bored with you. Another thing is don't eat during the event. I mean, the last thing you need to do is when a parent is talking to you and they're engaging you in a question and you have your mouth full of food. We all know that that's probably the rudest thing that we can ever experience. As I said before, don't sit behind the table. Engage them. Shake their hands. Well, in this case, make sure you either do an elbow bump or a fist bump. Lastly, using too much scout speak. We already spoke about this. Don't talk too much about scout speak. Last thing on this one is talking way too much about your scout's experience. Just talk a little bit about it. It's not about you, it's about them. And when I mean them, it's your audience. Be sure to watch our video on the best practices and an in-depth look on how to recruit. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and we appreciate everything you do. We look forward to working with you in this new fall recruitment, and even though that we have a lot of things pressing in our world today, we can't do it without you. So with that, we say thank you very much, and thank you for everything you do in scouting.